For 20 years, Cassi Davis smiled through every Tyler Perry production. She played the loving aunt, the church mother, the heart of every family. But behind those warm hugs and gospel songs, something was breaking. At 61, she's finally ready to talk about the handshake deals that left her trapped, the creative fights that almost ended everything, and the moment she nearly walked away from the Medea empire forever. The story will change how you see her forever. Cassi Davis was born on July 31, 1964, in Holly Springs, Mississippi, a small southern town where everyone knew everyone. Life was quiet, hard, and deeply rooted in church, family, and tradition. She grew up with 3 siblings in a home where faith wasn't just talked about, it was lived. Her parents, though she rarely names them, taught her to believe in God, work hard, and never forget where she came from. Entertainment didn't come from television or fancy outings. It came from church choirs, gospel music, and the stories passed around during Sunday dinners. Even as a child, she knew she was different. There was something inside her that wanted to sing, to perform, to move people. She first discovered her voice at age 5, standing in the middle of her church's wooden floor, belting out gospel hymns that echoed through the walls. That moment shaped her entire life. The music, the emotion, the way people responded. It lit a fire inside her that never burned out. Her parents recognized it immediately and encouraged her every step of the way. Singing in church didn't just teach her about music. It taught her how to feel what she was singing, how to speak straight to the heart without saying much at all. That's what made her special. When she graduated from Holly Springs High School in May 1984, she wasted no time chasing her dream. Just 7 days later, she left her hometown and moved to Atlanta. She had just turned 20. Spelman College had accepted her on a partial scholarship to study music. It was one of the best historically black colleges in the country, and she thought she'd finally found the place that would help her become a professional gospel singer. But the scholarship wasn't enough to cover everything. She had to work 3 jobs just to keep food on the table, buy books, and afford a place to sleep. It was exhausting, but she never gave up. Her faith and her dream kept her going. But then came the heartbreak. In 1988, during her final year, she had one requirement left before graduating: a senior recital. It should have been simple. But when she told the music department that she wanted to sing gospel music, they said no. The rules were clear. Only classical and secular pieces were allowed. Cassi couldn't believe it. This was everything she stood for. Singing about God was the reason she came there in the first place. Professors warned her not to throw it all away. Friends begged her to just sing the required songs, but she refused. She wouldn't perform something that didn't represent who she was. And so, she walked away, just 1 credit short of her degree. She told them that one day they'd regret it and give her an honorary degree. But deep down, it hurt. Her family back home was stunned. Her classmates thought she'd lost her mind. She had sacrificed years of work, thousands of dollars, and every ounce of energy she had, all because of one belief. For the next 20 years, she carried that regret with her like a shadow. Every time someone asked if she had graduated, she felt it again. The shame, the disappointment. She never forgot what it cost her. But while her education paused, life kept moving. And something beautiful was quietly growing in the background. Since 6th grade, Cassi had a soft spot for a boy named Kerry Patton. They met in 3rd grade, and by high school, she had fallen for him. But life took them in different directions. For almost 20 years, they didn't speak. She went to Atlanta. He built a life of his own. Then, in 2007, something changed. They started talking again. And just like that, the spark was back. After a decade of being back in each other's lives, they finally got married on January 11, 2017, at the Chapel of the Flowers in Las Vegas. A love story that started in a school hallway ended with a walk down the aisle. Meanwhile, her career was slowly rising. She took small acting jobs, stage roles, and TV appearances. And in the 2000s, when Tyler Perry cast her in his productions, everything changed. She became a household name. Audiences loved her honesty, her warmth, and the way she made faith feel real on screen. But even as the applause grew louder, the voice in her head reminded her of what she left behind. Then, in 2008, she decided it was time. At 44 years old, Cassi Davis returned to Spelman College. She had already started paying off her old student loans, not even knowing if she'd be allowed back. But she was ready to finish what she started. That year, she completed the final requirement that had haunted her for so long. And on May 17, 2009, she stood in her graduation robe at Spelman's 122nd commencement ceremony, held at New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. This time, she didn't walk away. She walked forward. Her name was called, and she received her Bachelor of Arts in Music 20 years later, but right on time. Cassi Davis wasn't excited to work with Tyler Perry. In fact, when he first reached out to her, she hesitated. Not because she didn't like the project, but because something about the dynamic felt off. At the time, Perry was becoming a rising star in black theater, building his name through stage plays that mixed laughter with real-life lessons. He was looking for actors who could carry that emotional weight. Cassi Davis had already built a solid resume on television, with appearances in shows like Living Single, Kenan and Kel, and Married with Children. She wasn't used to live theater, and the idea of stepping into Perry's world felt strange, maybe even risky. But the hesitation she felt wasn't just about the medium. It was a gut feeling that their working relationship might be more complicated than it appeared. Still, Tyler Perry didn't give up. He kept calling her, pitching his vision. He told her how he wanted to build something that hadn't been done before. He believed in her, maybe more than she even believed in the role at first. The conversation that changed everything happened when he talked about Atlanta. To him, it wasn't just a city. It was the promised land, a place where he could build a studio that didn't just open doors for black talent, but turned those doors into ramps so others could walk right in. That line stuck with her. She decided to say yes. Her first role was in I Can Do Bad All by Myself, where she played Ella Payne. That role lit something up in the audience. Her warmth, her comic timing, the way she could make a serious moment feel real. It all connected. People loved her. That role wasn't just a one-time thing. It grew into something bigger than either of them expected. It led to her stepping into Perry's ever-expanding universe. From Medea's Family Reunion to Medea Goes to Jail, and Medea's Big Happy Family. Every time Perry made something new, Davis was there. And when House of Pain hit the airwaves in 2007, she brought Ella Payne back, this time to millions of homes across America. The show ran for years, was revived later, and helped earn her 2 NAACP Image Awards in 2010 and 2013. Her character had become a staple, but behind the scenes, it wasn't always smooth. For years, she stayed quiet about what went on off-camera. People noticed odd things. Some actors in Perry's circle would vanish, then reappear without explanation. Even Davis, one of the most consistent and beloved faces in his productions, seemed to fade from view at key moments. There were whispers about creative disagreements, spiritual differences, even heartbreak. Something had caused friction. Insiders started questioning why someone as loyal and talented as Cassi Davis would disappear right as Perry's empire was reaching its peak. Financially, Davis stayed close to Perry's world. There weren't many formal contracts, just a lot of trust. Their business relationship seemed built on handshakes and loyalty. For over 20 years, she played major roles in his plays, TV shows, and films. That kind of consistency, especially in an industry as unstable as entertainment, likely brought her real wealth. But as time passed, it became clear that the informal way they worked together may have created problems. As Perry's brand shifted from small stage plays to billion-dollar productions, the same handshake deals that once felt empowering may have left Davis feeling boxed in. Things weren't always as perfect behind the scenes as they seemed on screen. There were whispers about tension among the cast, especially between LaVan Davis and Cassi Davis. Some claimed that LaVan's loud, dominant personality clashed with Cassi's softer, more laid-back nature. Others talked about rising stars like Lance Gross, who may have started getting too swept up in his own fame, and even China Anne McClain, who supposedly had a few diva moments during her teenage years. Despite all of that, Cassi played a powerful role off-screen too. She became like a mother to many of the younger actors, always offering advice, support, and protection when needed. People like Demetria McKinney and China Anne McClain often looked to her not just as a co-star, but as a mentor. Even in 2020, when she was diagnosed with Bell's palsy, she didn't stop showing up for them. When Cassi Davis first stepped onto the stage for a Tyler Perry audition in 2005, she wasn't aiming to become Aunt Bam. She had her eyes on a completely different role. Ella Kincaid in Medea Goes to Jail. But something about her voice, her presence, her southern warmth reminded Tyler Perry of his own family. Not just anyone could hold their ground next to Medea without trying to outshine her, but Davis did it effortlessly. Instead of giving her the part she auditioned for, Perry created a brand new one just for her. That's how Aunt Bam was born. And by the time the film adaptation arrived in 2006, Davis was no longer just an actress in his cast. She was becoming the soul of the franchise. Perry didn't just cast her once. He wrote her into every single Medea project after that, building her into a fan favorite and one of the highest-paid supporting stars in his empire. What made her stand out wasn't just the character. It was the way she became the character. Davis didn't stick to the script. Perry gave her freedom, and she ran with it. During Boo, a Medea Halloween in 2016, she improvised a flirty scene with a trick-or-treater's dad that had the whole cast laughing so hard they had to keep it. In a Medea family funeral in 2019, she made up an entire scene trying to seduce the funeral director, and Perry didn't stop her. He encouraged it. Her improv was so sharp and so real that it became a part of the movies. These weren't just jokes. They were moments that fans quoted, scenes that stuck, and the kind of lines that won her 2 NAACP Image Awards for Outstanding Actress in a Comedy Series. But playing Aunt Bam wasn't all laughs and applause. Physically, it was brutal. Each day of filming meant spending up to 5 hours in a chair, getting into a 60-pound fat suit equipped with cooling systems. The wig alone weighed 8 pounds, heavy enough to require neck training exercises just to wear it. Her makeup involved prosthetics and glue that sometimes caused skin reactions so bad they had to bring a dermatologist on set. During Medea's Big Happy Family in 2010, Davis collapsed twice from heat exhaustion. Atlanta's summer heat combined with the costume was nearly too much. After that, she began a strict fitness routine and eventually lost over 75 pounds, making it easier to endure the physical toll. Behind all the performances, There was a moment when she almost walked away. There was a Medea film, though she's never said which one, that nearly made her quit. Critics had already dismissed the entire franchise as over-the-top and one-dimensional. Some even told Davis she should leave before it dragged down her reputation. But she didn't. She stayed. And not just out of comfort. She believed in Perry's message. She believed in what these films meant to people. Where others saw slapstick, she saw healing, laughter, family. Davis stood by Perry even when the industry turned its back, especially during the backlash over his decision to write every script himself without a writer's room. To her, that wasn't arrogance, it was passion. She had seen him work around the clock, pouring himself into every scene, and that loyalty mattered more than public opinion. What most people don't know is how deep her creative influence goes. Davis isn't just Perry's actress. She's one of his closest collaborators. Ever since that first play in 2005, she's been part of his inner circle. He trusts her input on everything from character arcs to casting. Her Mississippi upbringing, her church roots, they help shape the authenticity of the stories. When Perry needs something to feel right, he turns to her. She rewrites lines, adjusts motivations, and helps him shape the tone to match the real people these characters are meant to reflect. Despite his reputation for writing alone, Cassi Davis is one of the very few whose voice actually helps shape his final vision. Cassi Davis was in third grade. Carrie Patton sat a few rows over, and something about him stuck with her. By sixth grade, she knew she had a crush, even if she kept it to herself. But life doesn't wait for young love. After high school, they drifted apart, pulled by different cities, different dreams, and different futures. For the next 20 years, they didn't speak. Not once. But in her heart, Cassi never let go of Carrie. She dated other men, but none of them felt right. None of them felt like him. She admitted later that every man she met, she compared to Carrie, and every single one came up short. Then something unexpected happened. It was 2007, and they were both in their 40s. Carrie's brother played a quiet role in what happened next. Through him, Cassi and Carrie reconnected in Atlanta. Carrie happened to be working there at the time. They hadn't spoken in 20 years, but the moment they started talking, it was like no time had passed. During that very first call, Carrie mentioned he was flying to California the next day. The timing felt too perfect to be random. Cassi would later call it divine. From that day on, everything changed, but not in the way most people would expect. They didn't rush to announce their reunion. They didn't tell the press. They didn't even tell their closest friends. From 2007 to 2017, they lived a secret love story, hidden in plain sight. They spent that time learning each other again, not as teenagers, but as two grown people who had already lived full lives. It wasn't just about romance, it was about patience, faith, and understanding what it means to love someone as they are now, not just as you remember them. Then, on January 11, 2017, they did something that shocked everyone who thought they knew them. Instead of a Hollywood spectacle, they flew to Las Vegas. At the Chapel of the Flowers, in a small Victorian chapel, they said their vows in front of close friends and family. 20 days later, Cassi casually mentioned in an interview that she had gotten married. Even people in Tyler Perry's tight circle had no idea. That's how private they had been for 10 whole years. Cassi Davis didn't wake up expecting her whole life to shift. But in March 2020, she opened her eyes and something felt wrong. The left side of her face wasn't moving. She couldn't blink. She couldn't smile. At 55, she thought she was having a stroke. Panic took over. People around her noticed too. Her smile, that bright, warm smile everyone knew from her roles, was suddenly gone. It wasn't just about looks. It was her tool, her rhythm, her presence. And now it didn't work. At first, doctors agreed it looked like a stroke, especially since she also developed a limp. That only made things more confusing. Test after test, appointment after appointment, and still no clear answers. Weeks went by. She got treatments that didn't help. She was stuck in limbo, scared and waiting. It wasn't until she met the right specialists that she got the truth. Bell's palsy, a condition that inflames the seventh cranial nerve, freezing part of the face. Not permanent, but painful. Not deadly, but devastating. Especially when your face is your career. Still, she didn't quit. On the set of House of Pain, Cassi and the team found ways to work around it. Makeup artists carefully contoured her face. Lighting crews used softer angles. Cameramen adjusted shots so her stronger side faced forward. Every scene became a puzzle. Every line had to be delivered just right. Tyler Perry, more than a boss, really a friend, stood by her the whole time. He gave her the space and support to keep going, even when every take took extra effort. But the hardest part wasn't on set. It was inside. When she finally accepted the diagnosis, the emotions hit all at once. She felt like her identity had been shaken. She couldn't smile the same, couldn't speak the same. She worried about how fans would react, about whether producers would still call. She felt like people would look at her differently, maybe even walk away. The pain wasn't just physical. It reached into her self-worth. She cried. She questioned everything. But faith kept her going. She said, "If God allowed it, evidently I can handle it." And her husband, Kerry Patton, stayed by her side the entire way. Then came the death rumor. On February 12, 2023, a Facebook post claimed she had died from lung cancer at 58. The article got her name wrong, Cassi, instead of Cassi, and used European date formats, which immediately raised red flags. But none of that stopped the lie from spreading. People shared it on YouTube, on blogs, on social media. Google searches for her name exploded on February 20th across the US and South Africa. Fans were scared. People grieved. And Cassi Davis? She was alive and very much aware of what was happening. Tyler Perry found out the same day, February 20th. He got message after message, people sending condolences. He was furious. He posted a screenshot of the fake article on Instagram, scribbled, "This is a lie" across it in red. Then he added a video, angry and emotional, calling out whoever started the hoax. "You better be careful when you speak death over a child of God," he said. He wasn't just defending a friend. He was protecting someone he loved. He even called her directly and asked, "Cassi, you sure you're not dead?" Her response? Classic Cassi. "Hell no," she said, bursting into laughter. She told him she was eating some really good food, so good it might have made her think she was in heaven. Then she joked about throwing her fake funeral at Perry's pool, reminding him of the time he came home and found her swimming in his backyard. "Damn, what are you doing here?" she'd said, as if he was the one who didn't belong. That's just how she is. Funny, bold, unshaken by nonsense. But behind the jokes, there was damage. These fake death reports hit harder than people think. When a celebrity like Cassi doesn't live online all day, they can't instantly shut down rumors. Their team has to scramble, wasting time and energy fighting lies instead of chasing real work. And for Cassi, it hit at a time when she was finally starting to speak up. About pay, about fairness, about being valued. That made people wonder if the hoax wasn't just random. Maybe it was meant to silence her, because death hoaxes don't just cause confusion. They hurt careers, they scare families, they take away peace. And for black actors like Cassi, the risk is even bigger. When the world spreads a lie about your death, you don't just lose a headline, you risk losing your voice. She didn't start with millions, but Cassi Davis built a $6 million fortune by doing exactly what most celebrities forget to do: staying consistent, staying humble, and playing the long game. It all began with Tyler Perry. She wasn't just a guest star. She was the heart and soul of House of Pain, appearing in over 200 episodes. That alone brought in years of steady income. But it didn't stop there. She also showed up in 14 different Madea films, which altogether made nearly $700 million at the box office. What made that so profitable wasn't just the fame, it was the math. Each movie cost under $10 million to make, so the profit margins were massive. And when you're a key part of that success, you don't just get paid, you get a slice of the pie. Even while she was doing all this, she didn't waste her downtime. She landed voice roles in shows like The PJs and kept popping up in fan favorites like Living Single, The Parkers, and Married with Children. These might not have made headlines, but they kept the money flowing steadily through the 90s and 2000s. In 2008, she finally completed her music degree from Spelman College, which didn't just show her commitment to education, it positioned her to keep building long-term career options beyond just acting. She also started picking up brand deals and making smart investments, all while staying under the radar. None of it was flashy, but it was smart, and it paid off. What's surprising is how quietly she lives. You'd think someone with that kind of money would be flaunting it. But that's not Cassi Davis. Her home in Georgia is warm, southern, and peaceful, located close to Tyler Perry Studios, so she can keep her career rolling without needing the spotlight. Her beachside house in Mississippi is just 5 minutes from the ocean, with coastal blue and gray decor, a private pool, and 3 bedrooms filled with peace, not paparazzi. Her cars? A Mercedes-Benz S-Class, a Range Rover, a Lexus RX, and a Cadillac XT5. All elegant, all chosen for comfort, not flash. Even her backyard feels more like a prayer garden than a celebrity estate, complete with a swing chair and a quiet spot for sweet tea and reflection. What almost nobody knows is how much she gives away. After she was diagnosed with Bell's palsy in 2020, she started quietly funding medical research into neurological disorders. No announcements, no press releases, just help. Since 2015, she's covered scholarships for more than 50 students and donated anonymously to churches, food drives, and community programs. Her support ranges from $10,000 to $50,000 at a time, all across Mississippi and Georgia. In her hometown of Holly Springs alone, she's invested over $200,000 since 2018 into after-school programs and educational centers. But she never talks about it. She believes real giving doesn't need to be seen. She just does the work.